Hi, I'm Rocket. Welcome to another Whiteboarding with Rocket. In this session, I'm going to talk through the audio chain for the Airship Studios setup for this coming Sunday. This will be our first kind of full setup, mostly full setup. I'm not going to qualify it too much. With the infrastructure that's in place, the new infrastructure that's in place. And so there's a handful of requirements and there's a handful of things we want to consider. So one of the big requirements is we have a remote technical director, Marcia. She's going to be calling the show and cutting the show remotely. We want her to have both the ability to see the multi-views. That's relatively straightforward through Zoom. We also want to be able to capture her audio isolated so that we can package this up and make it as training materials for folks to learn how to do switching. And the other part is we want her to be on comms so she's able to talk to folks on the operators locally. And if we have any remote operators, we have communications. We want to make sure that she's only getting one audio mix feed, program feed, so that she's not getting echo or confusion or things like that. So she's either going to listen to the audio over Zoom and hear it that way, or she's going to listen to it over comms. And it just depends on which one's more comfortable for her. And there's a bunch of tests that I'm working on doing between now and Sunday around, is that possible? Can you know, and I'll walk through what that looks like today. So those are the handful of the things going on. We also want to be able to make sure that the local operators in the room, the camera ops and anybody else that's there, is getting the program feed or the live mix. And part of that has to do with, it's a digital studio primarily. And so you plug your instruments in and you send it through, and then each of the artists have in-ear monitors and they're listening to the mix, and they're able to mix their own setup. There's a little panel they've got. It's called an Aviom, A-V-I-O-M, and it's got all the different channels, and they can up and down each of the different instruments so they can tune their local monitor mix for their purposes. In this case, there's only going to be two artists, so it's not going to be like a huge, it's not going to be enormous, but to do 2 of these is to do 10 of these kind of thing. And the camera operators and the local operators having that ability to hear the audio mix is pretty important, especially if you're wanting to anticipate things or you're wanting to be on beat or things like that as part of the in focus and things like that. Because if you're not hearing it, the actual audio mix, you're just hearing plunk, 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 plunk most of the time, and a bunch of drums, right? That's, I don't think this Sunday is going to have drums, but if guitar, if it's acoustic guitar, great. But if it's an electric guitar, it's like ding, 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 ding. You can barely hear it, and you don't know if what's happening. You have to really. So that's one of the big things. I've done this a handful of times, and when I've had the audio mix in my ears, I am able to anticipate. I'm able to do lots of really cool things with the camera. If I don't, then I am totally I'm a bit of a loss, especially if there's something really interesting happening over here and I'm focused over here. So it's important that we have local operators have the full audio mix. So let's talk through what this whole thing looks like. So Marcia is going to have her local mic on her system and her Zoom client. She's going to be dialed in. She's going to get the video feed. She's going to get the audio feed. She's going to have the option to get the audio feed. That's going to go out to and from a Zoom room. Okay, so her audio feed is going to go to a Zoom room. It's also actually going to go to the Zoom meeting, but we're going to have a Zoom ISO system set up to capture the isolated audio and video tracks from the Zoom session. So that will be part of our packaging up for training materials. She'll also have the Unity client on that same computer. The theory here is, and this is part of what I'm going to be testing, is that local mic, what she's calling, is going to both Zoom and to comms. What she's getting back from comms is the chatter on the comm system. The hope is she can choose whether she wants to hear the live mix through comms or through Zoom. So that's the idea that we're going to be testing. All right. So from the live mix, how this is going to work is we have the Pro Tool set up with Elod, the audio engineer. He's got all the mics and instruments coming through analog into this Pro Tools mix, and then it's got Dante out to the IEM system. He's also got TalkBack that he can talk to the artist through the IEMs back, and then the artist can adjust what they're hearing in their mix there. That audio mix is going to go out to the Unity app running on a command and control system. It's also going to go out to Zoom. Okay, so that's all going to be Dante. So on this Unity app, on this command and control system, we'll set up a user that will be the audio mix, and it will be kind of an always open feed. And the theory is, and so Unity comms is I know how to use it as a user. I know how to set it up for 3 people. I don't know how to set it up for program feeds and all these other interesting kind of side tone, whatever you want to call it. But that's the idea, is to set it up and allow the individual folks to mute or listen in to the audio mix. And that's going to head up through Dante, a Dante interface. We'll go out to Unity. So we've got Dante on that command and control Zoom room. Command and control Mac Mini. And then the local operators will be on Unity, and they'll have the ability to mute and unmute different channels as they see fit. When they're talking back, that's going to head out to Unity and go to the different destinations. Remote operators, and this is an area that is very similar to what Marcia is going to be doing. They'll dial into Zoom, and then they get to choose whether they listen to things, the live mix over Zoom or the live mix over comms. And there we are. So that's the biggest setup. Now there's a handful of gaps that I need to figure out, and one of them is room mics. And so the great suggestion by Guy Cochran and a few other folks on a recent conversation at office hours is make sure you have room mics picking up the conversation that's happening in the room. And that's partly due to the creative process, the intimacy that is created as part of that being there, and it doesn't create this dead air in between takes. So we want to set up a handful of room mics. How do we capture that? How do we capture that? Do we capture that as a separate channel? Do we capture that as a just as an audio track that we save, right? So that's a TBD. Does it get sent out to Zoom? And there's a process in which the sound engineer is muting and unmuting those based on his needs. Because we can route, based with Dante, we can route particular channels out to the Zoom room. We could even go as far as picking a specific channel. Now the challenge with that, so if I said like channel 3 is room in Dante, and so we've got 3 channels of audio coming out of the Zoom room, how do I on the other side of that pick the 3rd channel? Can I do that on Zoom? So that's something I've not done before. So I've got a pretty decent amount of experience with Zoom, but this is the kind of thing that I don't yet have experience with. The other one is TalkBack. So the whole TalkBack from the audio engineer out. The idea is, can we capture that? And what's not listed here, but is how do we capture comms? So do we capture the audio chatter on comms in a separate audio file so that we have all the behind the scenes packageable up to share? So that's where I'm at, and the testing is going to happen between now and Sunday. So the schedule currently is this Friday, I think noonish to 5ish. And then Saturday, noonish to 5ish. So Friday's likely going to be getting a lot of this in place, getting the camera setting up, make sure we've got signal flow, make sure we understand as much of the audio as we can. Then on Saturday, we'll have one of the artists, maybe both of the artists in the room, just to sit so we can get camera angles, lighting, make sure that we understand, what that looks like. Potentially involve Marcia so she can do a quick review of what's happening. And then be ready by the end of Saturday. So Saturday is probably noon to 5-ish. End of Saturday, so that we are ready to go. First thing, we walk in the studio and most of the stuff is already set up. There's a lot of pre-flight checklists that have to happen on Sunday, so I'll probably be there really early, getting the Zoom ISO set up, getting Zoom room set up, getting all the things going. So that's where that's at, and then we'll broadcast the show on Sunday, get recordings, and then need to figure out what to do with those recordings after the fact. All right, with that, I'm Rocket. This has been another Whiteboarding with Rocket.